Hey everyone! Today we're going to be covering one of my favorite authors, hands down, Robert E. Howard, in Borak and Other Desert Adventures. So, who is Robert E. Howard, you might ask? Well, he's the same writer from the 1930s who lived in a small town in Texas who created the fantasy character Conan the Barbarian, Solomon Kane, and a bunch of others. It's pretty clear from this novel that Robert E. Howard loved adventure stories, and these detail essentially an American character, Borak, essentially a Texan who goes native in Afghanistan. At the time, this is the era of the Great Game between Russia and Britain competing for influence in Central Asia. And Borak sometimes finds himself in the middle of this. Now, one of the Borak stories takes place during World War I, but that's getting ahead of ourselves for now. Borak is basically a Texan cowboy, a stereotypical gunfighter, who, in each story, often ends with a climactic sword fight between him and the bad guy in that episode. While there's a lot of gunplay and enough firefights to satisfy most people, the Middle East and some of its cultures are also fairly well researched, shall I say, for someone living in a small town in Texas in the 1920s and 30s. The action scenes, whether they're firefights or sword fights or fist fights, are Howard's greatest strength. He makes every word essentially drip with adrenaline. There are some aspects of these stories that are, shall we say, troubling to modern sensibilities, such as the presentations of certain ethnic groups, but Howard's take on some of these is fairly progressive for his time. I don't want to discuss more about this without going into spoiler territory, but there is a particular story that I would direct your attention towards. That one is Son of the White Wolf, specifically dealing with rogue Ottoman Turkish soldiers, a captured spy, and Borak getting stuck in the middle of it. That said, though, I largely enjoyed these stories. There's a lot of lavish detail about all the weapons, guns, swords, all these characters use. Robert E. Howard was no slouch when it came to writing good action scenes as well. Interestingly, Borak is supposed to be Arabic for the quick, although perhaps a more accurate translation might be Borak rather than Borak. The Anglicization of Arabic characters has changed since Howard's day. There's a couple of other characters in here, but Borak is clearly the one that steals the show. If you want a great, pulse-pounding, historical adventure series, I definitely recommend this book. If you're more interested in Robert E. Howard, his correspondence with H.P. Lovecraft and with Clark Ashton Smith, definitely check out a podcast called The Cromcast. It's awesome. I hope to see you next time, here at the School of Night.